MichelleAlozie is more than a footballer. She is more than a cancer research technician. She is more than a fashion icon. She is all three, and she wears these roles with a rare confidence and authenticity that sets her apart. In a world where athletes are often confined to one lane, Alozie has chosen to embrace every passion that calls her name. And in doing so, she has become a living example of what it means to redefine possibility. When you think of Alozie, the first image that comes to mind is likely the Super Falcons jersey, the green and white, proudly worn by generations of Nigerian women who have dominated African football. Nigeria has won the Women's Africa Cup of Nations a record 10 times, making the Super Falcons the most decorated team on the continent. Alozie has added her own chapter to that legacy, playing with courage and commitment each time she steps onto the pitch. Yet, football is only one part of her identity. Off the pitch, Michelle takes off the boots and puts on the lab coat. In Houston, Texas, she works as a cancer research technician at the Texas Children's Cancer and Hematology Center. While many of her teammates spend downtime focusing solely on recovery, fitness, or endorsement opportunities, Alozie splits her time between professional sport and scientific research. It is an unusual balance, but it tells us something powerful about her character. She is not afraid to live in two worlds. She is not afraid to pursue excellence in more than one calling. She is not afraid to be different. And perhaps that is where the heart of her story lies. MichelleAlozie has never been afraid to express herself fully. For her, expression also finds its way into fashion. She has become an emerging style icon, known for the boldness and freedom she displays in her clothing. In her own words, fashion to me is just so freeing. It allows for you to express yourself creatively and authentically. Those words reveal a truth that goes beyond the wardrobe. Alozie sees life itself as an opportunity for authentic expression. That philosophy came to life in spectacular fashion when Sordate House, a creative house known for its bold artistic storytelling, teamed up with New York designer Kevin Lionel to create a one-of-one custom jacket to honor Michelle and mark Nigeria's historic 10th Women's Africa Cup of Nations triumph. This was not just a jacket, it was a celebration stitched into fabric, a conversation between history and progress. Lionel described his vision with passion. He said, "For Michelle's jacket, I pulled from 3 different eras of Nigeria's football history: the 1994-95 kit, the 2022-23 kit, and the 2025 kit. Each one carries its own story and identity, and I wanted to merge them together with a luxury Italian tweed to create something that honors both tradition and modern style." The inspiration came from showing how history and progress can live in the same piece, one that reflects Nigeria's culture, football legacy, and Michelle's individuality. This jacket was not made in isolation. It was designed using repurposed kits that held deep personal connections to Alozie's own journey with the Super Falcons. When she saw it for the first time, her joy was immediate and heartfelt. "I was amazed at the craftsmanship of the jacket. It has pieces from the very iconic Super Eagles '94 jersey and patchwork from the jersey that us, Super Falcons, just won WAFCON in. I love it. The 22 on the sleeve and the inside embroidery detail has to be my favorite part. It is easy to look at fashion and see it as surface level. But this was deeper. This jacket told the story of a country, a football dynasty, and a young woman determined to live fully in every dimension of her life. It carried echoes of the past: the 1994 Super Eagles squad that stunned the world, the 2022 Super Falcons who reinforced their dominance, and the 2025 squad that cemented their 10th African crown. It showed how the threads of history, when woven together with creativity, can produce something timeless. MichelleAlozie herself has become a symbol of that same weaving of history and progress. She is the child of Nigerian heritage who grew up in America, balancing identities and carving her own path in sport and science. She is the footballer who pushes her body to its limits, but also the researcher who pushes her mind to uncover new truths. She is the athlete who draws from tradition, but also the modern woman who defines her own style. This multidimensionality is what makes her inspiring. For young girls in Nigeria, Michelle represents the possibility that you can excel in education and still play at the highest levels of sport. For women across Africa, she represents the reminder that femininity, fashion, and strength can coexist powerfully. For scientists, she represents the reminder that knowledge and creativity can serve the same mission, to make the world better. And Michelle does not just talk about these things, she lives them. She continues to give her all for the Houston Dash in the NWSL, where her club is currently in a playoff push, preparing to face Washington Spirit at Audi Field on the 28th of September, 2025. She remains a vital part of the Super Falcons, carrying the pride of Nigeria with each run down the wing. She continues her lab work, contributing to research that could transform lives far away from the football pitch. And she continues to step out in fashion that makes people stop and say, "That is MichelleAlozie." What makes her story even more powerful is its message to the rest of us. Too often, society tells us to choose one path. To be safe. To specialize. To stay in one lane. But Michelle shows us that it is possible to walk boldly in more than one lane at once. You can be an athlete and a scientist. You can be a competitor and a creator. You can be deeply rooted in tradition while still writing a new story. Her journey reminds us that identity is not a box, it is a canvas. And every day, we get to decide how we will paint it. Some will use one color. Some will use two. MichelleAlozie? She uses the whole palette. That is why she has been called the flyest Super Falcon. Not because of a single outfit, or a single game, or a single accomplishment, but because of the way she carries herself in everything she does. There is a certain freedom in her presence. A certain refusal to be limited. And that, more than anything else, is what makes her fly. For anyone reading or listening, her story carries a challenge. What is stopping you from living fully? What dream have you silenced because you thought it did not fit with the others? What passion have you ignored because you thought it was too late, or too different, or too unusual? MichelleAlozie's life reminds us that there is no such thing as too many dreams. There is only the courage to pursue them. From the fields of Nigeria to the labs of Houston, from the runway of fashion to the bright lights of stadiums, MichelleAlozie is proof that greatness is not about fitting into one story, it is about writing many. She is a footballer, a scientist, a fashion icon, and above all, a fearless dreamer. And in her journey, we find the reminder that history and progress can live in the same person, stitched together with authenticity and boldness. The flyest Super Falcon soars not just for herself, but for all of us who dare to dream beyond limits.